Our next topic, which is on IoT, industry opportunities and challenges. The opportunities that IoT and industry solutions offer for businesses are manifold. However, there are a number of IoT challenges involved when it comes to making the most of them. From data security and master data management to the operations of machines and systems, a number of things need to be taken into account to ensure that nothing goes wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to introduce Alam Mohammed, who is Cyber and Digital Risk Strategist in Healthcare. Alam primarily serves clients with horizontal and vertical integration of new digital technologies, also the integration of cybersecurity into those technologies and transformations. He holds a postgraduate diploma in management from MIT Sloan, a dual master's degree in computer science from Germany, and information technology from Poland, before his bachelor's degree in computer and electronics engineering. He has got different certification, including CCISO, CISSP, and PMP certificate. He's a former cybersecurity to IoT leader in Deloitte's risk advisory practice and specializes in assisting clients with the risks associated with cyber threats. He has over a decade of professional experience in information security and digital technology. I would also like to invite the youngest cybersecurity professional, Mr. Riaz, who leads Aspire Cybersecurity Operations Center. He is an experienced cybersecurity professional with a demonstrated history of working in information technology and services industry. He holds certification in digital forensics, SIEM, vulnerability management, SOC, analyst, etc. Today, he will have a session regarding Aspire cybersecurity products and services. So let's welcome together our honorable speakers, Mr. Alam Mohammed and Mohammad Riaz, who will be taking this session together. Mr. Alam will start the presentation, followed by Mr. Riaz. The session will be all together for 60 minutes, of course, Q&A at the end. Thank you. So the floor is all yours, Mr. Ahmed and Mr. Riaz. Please continue with the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me, right? It's audible, right?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
So, topic is really quite, very hot topic in Europe, also in US, and maybe for Bangladesh a bit early, or we are not yet in there. I put a lot of buzzwords here, like industrial Internet of Things and Industry 4.0. I have also like operational technologies, critical infrastructures, a lot of buzzwords. So before going into the details, I would like to just discuss before for the audiences. This talk is not a traditional IoT. So when I say IoT, is like home appliances, for example, your light bulbs, your smart watches, your shoes, whatever. This is not. We focus here with the industry and where you have a production system, manufacturing systems. For example, you have your critical infrastructure like nuclear power plants, those kind of area. Yeah. And so this is a IoT, but for industrial point of view. And another buzzwords is like Industry 4.0. So what it is actually? Industry 4.0 is a digitalizations of this sector, okay? And it's called like Industry 4.0. But then question is, what is digitalization, right? So digitalizations is like combining with a lot of different technologies what we have right now. Or let's say we have a cloud. We saw previously a lot of our speaker and guests to discuss about the cloud. We have analytics. So, you do data analytics, you try to understand what is really going on with the operations, with your organizations, with your devices, with your systems and so on. So you get the data and you can get some clue. And we have like using AI, machine learning to really get out of this data, get the benefit out of this, okay? Some people like wanted to know, for example, when the machines or the device or the system will break down, right? So they want to know before getting some trigger. So those kind of things, actually, you can do it through the digitalizations, and you can have a remote access. For example, from your smartphone, you can live see what is going on your production line. You can visualize it. You can see what parts has a problem. You can remotely actually repair the device. I've seen something like Recently from Germany, there was or directly digging operations happening in Korea. So those kind of thing actually, you can do it with the digitalization. So again, is really connectivity with the devices, with the systems, with the cloud. You very close to your client and the customer. You know what is really going on. You sort of really reduce the middleman. So every company is trying to get into close to their customer because they realize this is really more beneficial, getting more trust and so on. Okay, and if you have questions, please, I love more answer than really talking. So please chat on the chat box or question answer so that I can continue in the same time. Okay, so the agenda is very simple. I put it this way. So we'll talk about the cyber capabilities, what actually we have, what sort of expertise and capabilities we have, and it's really this capabilities somehow meet the market demand or the client demands. We'll also discuss about this. The second steps, I call a company called Dreams Limited, actually. So this company is a hypothetical, but we have worked with more than 80 to 100 different digitalizations companies. So we learn really a lot. And I don't want to disclose a client here, but idea is this is very much similar, all this sector actually facing these topics, whoever really interested to work on this. So it's a very similar. So this hypothetical company will give us a very clue what actually their challenges they are facing and how we really solve those. We'll discuss about this with our capabilities. And then these companies, of course, I said like the 4 steps, what approach we really solve this. We'll discuss about how these 4 steps look like, and then lesson learned, what we have learned actually, and then also some recommendations for us, for you guys. So here is the Aspire capabilities and also about Aspire. We have a lot of folks actually with certified, and we have a lot of folks in risk management and security professionals. We have done a lot of successful security projects globally. We believe we are a leading cybersecurity partner and trusted partner in Bangladesh, of course, also in Europe and the US. After my presentations, I hope maybe Riaz will talk about some of the products. So now, why I said it, you can relate actually this kind of services and capabilities, how important actually in reality, yeah, with the experience what I am going to share. So we designed this concept actually very much similar to NIST cybersecurity frameworks and many other standard and best practices and so on. So the capabilities we designed, like the strategies, we found, just Adam a few minutes back said, a lot of people has no policies, no strategies, so how you do it? So we realized that this is very important to have a work on these areas, offering the cyber strategy and then transformation projects, how they can really go to or reach their target, and how the strategy will look to their businesses, to within the cyber and the technologies, how really it's rely on each other, how we can really help our client to reach their target. Another thing is, I always say, people said cybersecurity is nothing is really identifying your risk and actually managing your risk. And we have seen this risk management strategy is very important. Many organizations, they doesn't know actually what risk for them and how to really manage those risks, and what sort of risk is really acceptable and what is not really acceptable. For big companies, like 10 million is nothing. But for a small company, 1 million, they will be out of business. So those kind of things, actually, we also advise and help a customer to implement actually those steps. Again, we also saw the importance of the awareness and training and educations. Definitely, we are also in that areas in this space. We saw our previous speaker actually also talk about those topics. Is really, really very important. I mean, I cannot really emphasize this more. You have learned a lot of topics like identity access management, also from yesterday, also from today. So again, this is really very important. We saw also about data protections and data leakage prevention. So this is the way actually we design, and that every aspect we can really help. And we call it like integrated cybersecurity and risk capabilities. So I will not kill a lot of time here, as I hope Riaz may explore some of the product here. We have also like threat intelligence and analysis services. We have a SOC center and is operating globally. So a lot of these things, Riaz, I hope will talk more insight. Now, come back to the Dreams Limited. So again, this company is hypothetical. So if it is close to any of you companies, please don't take it seriously. I mean, it's maybe coincidence, but I drafted this from, as I said, like 80 to 100 companies, what is really going on, especially in Europe and multinational companies. So what actually, I mean, we see this company has a very nice, their visions, very nice, their challenges, what it is. Of course, we also work with them to understand their challenges with their businesses, how they can really overcome those challenges. Now, before going into a bit deeper, so we should see Industry 4.0, what it is actually, and how this journey really looked like. I mean, if you go back to 1784, we talk about the steam power. You may remember about the, like some steam engines, and they're like operating with that way. And you have saw the train, also a lot of vehicles actually operating that way, coal especially, and all this stuff. And then we have the 1870s. This is actually Industry 2.0. This was the assembly line. It's innovated. I think it was in Japan mainly. Did these practices introduced? And then Industry 3.0 is like automation with the computer and electronics. We saw a lot of embedded systems. A lot of electronics, cell power, processing powers, and everything. So we introduce electricity or electronics into the automations and everything. So this is actually what we had done, let's say, before some years back. Yeah. Since 1970, there was not much happened until today. So we call it now Industry 4.0 it's called cyber physical systems. I just give you one example. Nowadays, you may see a lot of sensors. Actually, they don't have a processing power. I mean, they're like dumb actually. So they get the data, they push somewhere backend or some other systems to process the data and give some action. But you will see a sensor itself is getting more and more smart. They can, decide themselves. I mean, they have a decision power actually. So they can take some actions. They have a small tiny piece, but they can store even data. They can even decide what to do. So you can actually split or distribute the decision powers as well. Now, this is how Industry 4.0 look like. Again, connectivities with your operating environment, with cloud, with the software, with your remote people, with your devices, remote access. So everything is somehow connected. And as you can see, due to this connected, there is a lot of issues with the security and privacy. Because as we also learned yesterday and also today, that a hacker or attacker actually looking for the weakest link. So if on this areas of connectivities, you get a simple issue in one or the other layer, you have a problem. And how you really protect this. And not only that, we'll see a lot more other issues even within the factory facilities and the operating environment or critical infrastructure. So as we see a lot of, it's like very similar to many companies. So they want to create a value for their customer, what it is. Yeah. So it could be through money, could be through saving their cost. It could be through their optimizing their production environment. So whatever. Yeah. That very much similar. Yeah. And then of course reducing the operational cost. I have seen some companies, if their production system is break for, let's say for 10 minutes, it costs them multiple millions actually. Yeah. And so how you can really reduce this kind of damages, because every time if you try to prevent those issues during operations, you can save millions and millions of dollars for every single companies. Yeah. And then Another vision is that, okay, reduce the attack surface of the hackers and attackers. How you can reduce this attack surface? Attack surface in the sense of, as I said, like you have many places can be attacked. So you are potentially vulnerable because you have connectivity everywhere. So how you can actually reduce those attack surfaces so that attacker or hacker not exploiting that. Another part is remote and predictive maintenance. So as I said a little bit, is like, a lot of companies we have seen their devices and the system is very remote. Even some of the operations is underwater, for example. So how you actually maintain those devices, how you access those devices remotely. So this is actually the visions of, is a dream for many companies actually around the globe. How we can do that, how we can close to the systems, some of the devices on the desert, right? How you can really manage them. How the system will break down. And those things actually you can do with, of course, with the data, with analytics, connectivities, and everything in place. And of course, the increased quality and product development. We know already, right? So a lot of systems and products has their own capabilities. They are no more dead devices, or not live devices. They have a software element on it. They have a connectivities. And that means when you design software, develop software, there is a lot of security issues, quality issues. It can be exploited from anyone, from everywhere. How you actually you do that? Yeah? The challenges actually these similar companies is facing is like we also saw in many presentations is risk management and communications. I went a company and I asked what this system actually does. He said, this is nothing actually, it's just a systems, we do this thing. And when I talked to the senior management and CEO, and he said, this is one of their critical systems. So what I mean is even they don't know actually what system is facing what sort of risk. So this is the big challenge actually in many companies. Yeah. And then there is a complexity itself within the IT organizations or the IT infrastructure. And then how you manage or link with your production environment, with your critical infrastructure, your OT or operation technology environment. And how you actually, let's say, manage those risks and communicate with the relevant stakeholders and the owners, system owners, or the management or the experts. So this is one of the big challenges. As I said, is a very much common in the companies I have been audited and assessed and work on. Another one is like with the threat monitoring. So actually, they don't know. I have seen some companies even got hacked 5 or 10 years back, even they have no clue. So they think they're fine. So this can happen also with Bangladesh. We don't know. We really don't know many things, right? And many one even afraid to disclose. In Europe or US, at least you have some pressure, regulatory pressure said, no, you have to disclose if you have some issue. And you have to really monitor and report and all this stuff, especially for the critical infrastructures, for where sensitive operations going on for the national benefits, yeah, for the countries and for the governments, for the people and all this stuff. And another one, we have seen everyone talking about user managed access, identity access management. This is another challenge actually. So how they can manage and the authorizations and the administrations of the users and the systems and devices. Again, IoT means, or industrial IoT means actually every systems and device and people, everything sort of thing actually. And they do have their own processing power and connectivities, how you really design them, how you really empower them to be done. Yeah. So now we'll see how we actually solve this issue, as it's a bit familiar with us, what actually these companies does, what is their visions and goals, and what is Industry 4.0, what are the challenges they have. Now we'll jump in to see how we actually solve this, okay? So here is the security solutions, or the approach actually we have taken here is very simple. We start with the security governance and the strategy assessment. So we found many organizations has even no governance. So even if they have some papers, they don't have a tip to take action on this. How actually it look like? How your governance look like? How your if your strategy at all right? I mean, you have to have a strategy. There is nothing called wrong or bad strategy. You have to have a strategy. I saw many business gurus telling without strategy is a big fail. So you have to have some strategy, either good or bad. There is nothing called good or bad. Actually, you have to take the strategy. A lot of organizations, they don't have even strategy. So we do this assessment, understanding the governance structure, and I will show you how it sometimes look like, and define them for example, for their linkage to the technologies, digitalizations, and their business goals. And of course, we saw also the previous speaker talk about the architectures and everything. So there are, as I said, like a lot of OT environment or operational technology or critical infrastructures, they are, from my point of view, 30 to 40 years back with the protocols, with the technologies they are using, because they the intention was just to operate, not to think about security. So that's the reason they are really quite old. And when you map these two worlds, there is always catastrophe, is always getting problem. And you can imagine some devices like updated maybe last 10, 20, 15 years, even they didn't even touch. So how you actually architect the network and design the blueprint for them, how you layer them, who can communicate with whom, because you have issue also your supplier coming in, your partner coming to your organization. So is it possible that IT OT is separate, and who is managing that? Because your critical infrastructure is, they're not expert from IT. So how you really communicate with each other, right? So those kind of issues actually very, very important to focus on. And this is what actually we have done. And then asset management and monitoring. Again, if you don't know, I've seen many large companies, when we do assessment and they said, well, this device is not in our scope. But I said, then what is the risk in this device? Well, this device is fine. The problem is, this is good. They at least said this device is fine, but it's not in their monitoring capacity, or it's not within their asset management. But for me, if you're not monitoring, this device is already red listed, is gone, is very dangerous. So many organizations we have seen, like the asset is not even identified. Asset is not even on their asset inventory or in asset management system. And some organizations, they have list, but they're not monitoring because whatever reason, it's not compatible, it's not accessible, it's not managed by some other political person. So, you know, those kind of things in a large corporation is always coming in. So we come up with this to solve this kind of issues. And then again, identity and access management, as I told, right? Every device want to access and log in and take decisions, how you authenticate, how you authorize, who should take actions, how you empower your user, your customer, your client. So this is a really big topic. It's the heart of many things, actually. And then you, after this assessment, then you can actually maybe do your target, your maturity target. Again, this is also in your governance, your strategy is very important. What is actually target you are facing for? So I'm talking very high level here, but if any questions, again, please write at the same time so I can answer your questions. Okay, and here is the what we have done, right? So this is, for example, the topics I mentioned about the governance and strategy step, right? First step. So we did everything with the risk-based approach. As I said, like if you don't understand the risk of your organizations, you don't know actually what to protect. You don't know how much you should invest. You don't know, do you have any liability to regulations and all this stuff. So this is very important, so that when you solve or you design your strategy and then governance, you should understand the risk actually. And I said about the strategy framework or security framework is very much common with a lot of standard and best practices. And we challenge the status quo. So it's like what we do right now. That's it. We just say, okay, is it right? What you would do, what we can really improve. What's wrong is going on. So we interview a lot of stakeholders, you know, bring all this chief operating officer, chief information officers, chief technology officer, you know, everyone, talk to them and understand how they functions, what they functions, understand what is their business goal, you know, is it really aligned with all these stakeholders, and and then we actually call it like an operating model. So we design actually this outcome is like you see some, as you see here, some, this is, again, this is hypothetical, it's not real, but you see how it will look like, for example. And the operating model for some organizations, operating model is different than the others. It means that how they can, after this drafting this, how they can really operate successfully. And again, it's not that also the after work that we really continuously help them and support them, reassess them, how they can really come up with this. Okay. So I will skip this one. Is a very similar, as you can see in the previous slides. I talked about the CSS framework is very similar how actually it looked like, right? So it's a different capabilities. You have a 5 domains. Is very known to many security folks. Is from NIST framework, but is a focusing 22 different capabilities. We blended and questions 1,500 plus questions actually, integrated there to really understand these capabilities to map to this framework to the organizations. Okay. So here is again, now the second steps. I talk about the 4 steps. As here is the second steps. We talk about the network architecture and blueprint. Yeah? So it's a very famous for industrial control systems or critical infrastructure or OT, operational technology network, is a Purdue model. Yeah, so there is a snapshot you can see here is very similar. So we actually analyzing and design a client according to this model so that they really understand. This is another one, is a very similar. Actually, is more details. So this kind of model, you see how they should allocate, let's say, put their devices or the systems. How the system will connect and communicate to other systems, design their blueprint, firewalls, DMZ, everything. Yeah. So for these approaches. Yeah. And then we go with the third is a asset management and OT monitoring. As you can see, is a big issues for actually every company, 100% companies. They don't know how many their assets available. They don't know where their asset is located. I can give one example. With the big companies, they have like around 45 different countries. They distributed their environment, and there was a ransomware attack, and so they're connected. All connected countries got affected, but one country's the asset was not managed at all. Yeah, and they have no idea at all actually. And when this incident happened, and then after the assessment and analysis, and then we found out they are fully one country they fully left over. Yeah. So the challenge here, like even some asset you can find and there is no documentation. The asset is not updated, not linked to anywhere. Yeah. And so what we did is here, like we did a lot of experiment because this needs actually some software capabilities. So we did an experiment with some partner to understand, do the POC, proof of concept with some of the partner to automatically discover the assets and try to figure out, is it really correctly discovered? Can we really remotely manage them and all this stuff? So this is again another way of solving these issues. As I said, it's very common to many companies or industry. Yeah. And identity access management. So we have seen a lot of client and the customer, for example, their products or the systems. Somehow, because of the privileged accesses to the devices and the system, sometimes they install something, some software. The software is communicating with traditional IT and the cloud, creating really a lot of problem, production shutdowns, and a lot of these things happening. And a lot of companies using the same user ID password for all systems, and you don't know who actually has login or access this or did this. So those kind of issues is very common. And some regulations, for example, not allowing you to transfer data from one country to other countries, and they are getting a lot of fine because of that, because there is no, let's say, the access restrictions or whatever necessary for the operation teams or the field worker and so on. Yeah. Those kind of actually challenges we have seen, I mean, in many companies, and sometimes they use their misuse their administrative rights and all this stuff. How you can actually, even the person has administrative right, how you can even enforce them not to do what is not expected from the business point of view. And we also have seen that that was very crucial actually to provide identity access management solutions for remote services. So a lot of, as I said, like before, this industry is spread around the globe or around the different countries, and operation teams sit here and here and there. So how you actually facilitate them remote accesses, and that they can maintain, they get log into the systems and all this stuff. So this is also very crucial actually for the identity access management, especially when it's come to the industrial agent of thing. Okay, and here is the lesson learned. So here is like, what we have seen is like, these are the top 5 sort of knowledge what we gain actually. The one is like building cross-functional teams. We have seen previously operational technology or OT environment or critical infrastructures where your production environment, everything is not managed by your CIO or your CISO. Security, of course, was not there. And nowadays is slowly moving to that direction, said, okay, OT or operational technology environment also must be managed by the CIO and the CISO to help these folks to be more secure. And what we have learned here is there is a big knowledge gap from the IT organizations to these industrial topics, industrial knowledge and expertise. There is a big gap. So how we can learn from each other. So this is very important. So you create a cross-functional teams, 3 folks from IT, 3 folks from OT, I mean operational technology, bring together and create a cross-functional team, and you learn from each other. This is very important. Otherwise, it's not really working. Another one is like risk management and security profiling. As I said, like if you don't know what is your risk profile, how you can really apply your security, how you measure it, is also very important. And you should also separate the risk. Separate your network and activities according to the risk, because if it is a heavy industry IoT focus or industrial IoT focus, you have to really separate that. You have to understand this is different risk than this one. Yeah? Because sometimes IT simple TCP packet ping will kill your operation environments or your production environment. So we should know the risk of this and know your high risk environment. Okay, so risk profiling or risk management, security profiling is very important. This is what we have learned so far. And another thing is like target definitions. Yeah, so of next security level. So we have seen like many companies trying to do everything together, and they really fail dramatically. For example, they have a very ambitious target. For example, we have seen somewhere talking about the capability maturity model, right, or CMMI. So you may define something similar, but not from 0 to 5. Directly you jump in, you can't really. So you have to define what is your target maturity level. You should define where you are going forward. What is the management expectations, and the board that they buy in, they agree on that, right? So this is very important to really understand, because a lot of people doesn't know what is their target for when it's come to the security, when it's come to their business goal and management expectations. Yeah? Another thing is like security training, and we emphasize, I think every presenter somehow emphasize about the security training for industrial control system engineers, especially when we talk about the industrial IoT. Of course, it's same also for IT, and this is what actually we are really, really very aware of, and also design our services accordingly. Yeah. You need continuous training to bring these folks on board, understanding their environment, learning their environment, and bringing the security and IT jargon to a stand. It's like cross-functional team, also cross-training actually for both of them. Okay, and another thing is like a lot of big companies in Europe. You may know also like Robert Bosch, such big companies. They invested so much time, energy, money, and you can say they really failed in the sense of because they start immediately to become like big one, right? So digital transformation is a journey. It's very important. It's not one killer shot. It's a really journey. So you slowly step in and do from one segment or one application some experiment, and go to the next one, do the second experiment, onboard the next applications and next products, slowly like that. So this is very important. We have learned this, and this is very important for actually every companies who are looking for this digital transformation. Start with small, okay? And don't think that you can really win touch the moon quickly, okay? You need really a lot of understanding, because your experts, your engineers, they are not up to that level, okay? So you need to bring everyone slowly on board, yeah? Okay, another thing is how I see the world will look in 5 years. So I see like a lot of standard and regulations is really pushing. So we have to be very careful. When we design something, we architect something, we implement something, whatever it is, we have to understand that one other part is the regulations. Regulation is getting day by day very hard. For example, I see recently I've been working for a client, and they want to have ethical regulations and compliance, already pushing for their artificial intelligence, for their machine learnings. Are you really doing things ethically? So those things was not there. So a lot of for experts in that company, the client is, they have to even learn what it is, because this is not their area. And they have to talk to the expert and understand how regulation can sue them, if something goes wrong. So again, very careful. What do you do? Is it regulated? I just give one example. For example, in Russia, you cannot encrypt your devices to send encrypted data to somewhere else. It's forbidden. In China, you cannot send data, whatever you do in China, in the cloud, to other countries. So if you don't understand the regulations and standard, you don't have a big picture, you will be in a big trouble. So this is very important, and regulation is coming every day harder and harder. Another lesson learned is like IT-OT connections. Yeah. So in the future, you will not find, is it a OT device or IT device? Okay. As I said, like sensor will increase their computing power, right? So it will act like a processor, and for you, everything is pings. You really don't know, is it from IT or OT connection? So you have to take both worlds seriously. Okay. Another thing I think about, there will be a lot of artificial intelligence based attack. So as one of the presenters said that they're smarter, or hacker or attacker are more smarter than us, or a bit ahead of us, right? So this kind of thing, very, very tough actually. I saw recently a news with artificial intelligence. I think some bank, I forgot the name now, they transfer a lot of money. I think in Middle East. Yes, it is in Middle East. They fake the videos with the artificial intelligence and talk and send a lot of money. I think fake one of the CEO or something. So those kind of attack, actually, we don't know how it will look like in the future, but it's coming. This kind of protections, this kind of understanding intelligence we need. Okay. And then CISO responsibilities. We have seen from a lot of reports that nowadays companies expecting that CISO is reporting directly to the board of management, and CISO is taking the responsibility for their OT, their products, their IT environment, all together. So CISO is experience is getting responsibility is getting higher. Of course, pressure and tension also getting higher. As I was a former CISO, I know how challenges, how tough actually to play those kind of roles. I can't, I mean, it's really a lot. I think we had a talk about this already started. Okay, and you will see also a lot of security companies in coming and pushing to offer their solutions. We have seen some big brand even, they said, we do OT monitoring, analytics, we can do vulnerability, real-time monitoring, everything. And we found actually this is not for OT, this is just for IT. So those things also happening. So you have to be very careful when you do partner collaborations. You have to find out solutions. You have to find out how this solutions will look like. And I believe there will be more and more coming in this area. Okay, now this is, again, thank you for your time and patience.